Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of Daredevil Born Again. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we open with a year ago where Vanessa approaches Bullseye. It's interesting knowing that the facility he was locked up in, like, prior to his trial and everything, and going to jail for Foggy and everyone he killed at Josie's. But it was also that he was in a mental facility prior, but obviously because someone had talked about that recently about why Fisk has never really gone after Matt, and it's because I have not seen season 3 since it originally came out, but there was stuff that went down in that kind of, it's part of that's the reason why they were able to get Fisk out of prison, and it's also why they can end up getting Bullseye released from his facility. And it's Vanessa's trying to protect what she's trying to build, and Benny was going to be a thorn in that side because he was a thief and he could ruin everything, so he needs to go along with Foggy. And so Bullseye is, he's the gun, and the trigger man for this situation. And it's it's Fisk involved, which Vanessa's no, he's not in this. But what was it that Bullseye said? He was kind of Fisk is kind of involved in everything, even though you say he's not. He's always going to be a part of this, because she's this has nothing to do with your relationship with my husband and stuff, and any business dealings you've had in the past. So, but yeah, we also pick up with Matt in the hospital trying to tell Kirsten and Heather. Obviously, he sounds like a raving lunatic, because obviously Heather's going to be dismissive of him because, at the party, you were acting like a crazy person, spouting some conspiracy stuff. Hey, not all conspiracies, they might sound batshit crazy, but, eventually some of them, not all of them, but some do end up being true. And it's just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong. But yeah, that situation, him crashing out at the party, but also being heavily medicated. Neither Kirsten nor Heather's listening. To be fair, all last episode Matt was crashing out, so of course they're going to be less likely to listen to him. It's oh, you're kind of been on a spiral lately, bro. And he had brought up all the stuff about Foggy and stuff, but neither one of them was willing to listen to him. At the same time, Fisk is finding out, wait, where's Matt? Oh, he's okay. Well, something could happen to him. He could, submit to his wounds in the hospital. He a dead hero is worth more than a live vigilante. Using him as kind of this martyr of oh, look at this good lawyer who stepped in and saved my life type of situation. So it's you could basically use Matt Murdock's corpse as a building block, and it serves so much more for you. He serves a greater purpose for you and benefit to you as a dead Matt Murdock than a live enemy of the state, Daredevil type of situation. So it is fascinating, because he's also trying to rein everybody in. He's asking Sheila yo, you need to tell me those who are loyal, who are disloyal. And Sheila knows what time it is. And the moment she talked to Gallows, I'm probably not the best place to have this conversation about essentially having a mutiny against Kingpin. But the moment that was over, you're Sheila's definitely... I was well, it could go either way, but I was still leaning more, yeah, Sheila's going to turn on him. And she does. Because it's, she knows what side of the situation is. Kingpin has amassed too much power, and she's so low on the totem pole that she could easily be dismissed. She's not in a good enough position. She's not like a Daniel. Daniel was secure because he sips the Kool-Aid. He drinks his Kingpin Kool-Aid on a daily basis, morning, noon, and night. So he's already in. He's secured in his position. Kingpin needs sycophants like him around. But yeah, Sheila is I know where this is going to go for me. So just to survive, it's self-preservation at this point in time, because it's hunting season type of situation of, oh, if you're a vigilante or if you're kind of opposing me in any shape or form, I'm going to shut that down. So Sheila, she, made her decision, and obviously it rots her to her core, but still. We also had the Fisk and Vanessa of it all, which... The big question coming out of last episode was, okay, so when Fisk finds out what Vanessa did, How is he going to feel about it? And he says, like, Vanessa's like, oh, I'm still shaking about everything. And he's like, Vanessa, I know. So I was like, interesting. Because my thing was last episode, I was like, oh, Bullseye's aiming at Fisk because he thinks it was Fisk that like set him up, not realizing it was Vanessa. It's like, no. He knows it was Vanessa. He was literally aiming at Vanessa, but then he decided, like, no, the best thing I can do is take out Kingpin first, because it's like, if I kill Vanessa, that's a whole bunch of heat I don't need. So kill the Kingpin first, then either he was going to go after her next, or at least he knew he'd probably have a better shot of getting her later. He needed to kill Kingpin then and there. Because it's like, in his mind, it's probably like, you are the bigger threat and bigger issue than Vanessa. She's something that needs to be contended with, but you being rageful about her being dead is different from her, like running wild after he's dead, so I think he just weighed his options on like which one would be a bigger threat if left alone, if I had to like walk away with one of them still being alive, because I'm sure he probably was going to probably try and aim for Bo, but definitely went after Fisk first. But either way, but he seemed to know what she did and he was okay with it, because he's like, well, I don't know. He says, I know, but I don't know if he's talking about the Red Hook of it all or whether he's talking about the Bullseye stuff. That's still unclear to me. Maybe that's clear to other people. That's unclear to me, whether, because they talk about it later on about Red Hook. We find out what its whole deal is. Red Hook almost serves as like this, serves as this sovereign state. I don't think that's the right phrase, but that's the closest one I can think of. I don't think they used that phrase. They used a different one. Was it free state? Might have been what they said. Basically, like, anything kind of goes there, because New York, nor the U.S., nor any country can govern how things work there. So if Kingpin's able to build stuff up there, he's able to run rampant, do whatever he wants. Vanessa's already been like money laundering through art and stuff using this place, so I don't know if that, because he says like, right, you use that place, you've laundered millions to it. He's like, with what we've accomplished, we'd be able to launder billions. So like I said, I don't know if he knows that what she did, and it's like, maybe, and I think like the point is to implying like he does know, and he's co-signing it, because it's like, right, because what you did, it's, and I think that is kind of, I think that is, without directly saying, I think that is a clear answer if he does know, and it's like, right, you doing what you did with the whole Foggy and Benny situation benefited us because it put us in this position to like be able to launder more and do more. So we're able to build our empire. So it's all great and awesome. He sent Buck to go kill Matt. Luckily, Matt heard Buck coming and bailed. At the same time, like, the power's getting cut in the city. Like, they're sealing the city down. They kind of wreak havoc and just kind of like come out on the top. Like, oh, after this hellish night, we come out on the other side at dawn. At the twilight gleaming. It's like, I'll be your savior type of situation. But yeah, Matt goes back to his place, and lo and behold, who's waiting for him? Frank. And even Frank's like, why'd you take a bullet for him? It's like, I don't know. Even Matt's like, I don't know. I did it on instinct, because it's like, regardless of this man, I hate him. He's a terrible person. It's that thing of it's that hero complicated thing of, why'd you protect your greatest nemesis? Because it's like, you have to, because that's what a hero does. You don't just like let someone die. I mean, the argument could be like, well, that comes kind of to the forefront, obviously, during this whole situation when the task force rolls up on Matt's place, and Matt's suited up and Frank is locked and loaded and ready to go. And Frank's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm going to kill these guys. And Matt's like, don't. So all the people Matt is fighting, he's knocking them out. Frank is just gutting people. That one guy, he smashed his head against like the counter and then just pop, pop, pop. That was like completely unnecessary. I'm sure you got him after the first shot, Frank. Then like I said, knife to bellies and throats. It's just like, ugh. It's but yeah, like Matt doing his thing, just knocking people out. But yeah, like the last person standing when it's all said and done is Cole. And it's like, yeah, the moment he came in wearing it, you're like, well, it had to be Cole, right? And it seems like he's the one that specifically marks his bullets. He's the one that killed Hector. And now the time, and I love like Frank threw a knife into his hand so it stuck to the wall. So it's like, okay, this is the one, Red. he's the one that you were after. So what are you going to do? And Matt's like thinking about it, and he's thinking about Hector, but he's also thinking about the time he almost killed Bullseye because he wanted to, but it's just like, no, he's not worth it. Because Cole's like, you go ahead and do it. Like, I chose my brother's side, and he's like, when it's all said and done, I can die with like no issue. But it's like, you're not worth it, and it's too easy. I'm not going to, But Frank's like, oh, what about this guy? Kills another guy that's still alive over there. It's like, Jesus. Matt, I mean, to be fair, Matt's fighting off other people, so he doesn't really have time to, like, while these people are trying to kill you, you're knocking out some people, but you don't have enough time to go over there and stop Frank from murking all these other people. So, yeah, but yeah, it's that clashing of just, like, don't do this. Are you sick, Frank? What is wrong with you? But then, like, a grenade gets thrown. So I assume everyone in that room is dead, including Cole. Like, that grenade, like, that apartment, like, blew up. That place blew up. We saw it from the outside. I love, like, him grabbing Frank and kind of, like, using his clubs to, like, obviously, like, swing away. But they crash and land on the ground, and it's like, well, shit. So they're just kind of walking away, and then Karen pulls up because Karen's the one that got in contact with Frank. Makes sense, because Frank and Karen have always had an interesting relationship ever since season 2 of Daredevil. They always kind of linked, and I think it almost feels befitting considering, like, Matt obviously has denied a lot of the darkness in him, and then Frank kind of has a lot of that darkness in him, and so does Karen. And I think maybe that's what puts her in that very unique position when it comes to, like, because it's interesting because, like, her, Frank, and Matt all are kind of that darkness, and, like, Foggy was kind of, like, just kind of that pure light amongst all that dynamic. So it's just kind of interesting. But yeah, they get stitched up, and it is kind of the interesting thing. Like, yeah, you contacted Frank, but you didn't contact me, because she's like, well, I needed someone to have your back, and obviously it paid off. So, but yeah, Frank is not going with them when they're trying to investigate this whole angle of trying to take down Fisk and figure out what this is all about. They've got the idea because Matt shares his ideas with Karen about what this was all about, but he just doesn't fully know the why. And then, like I said, they investigate and they find out the why, that being the that charter or whatever kind of saying the status of Red Hook. But Frank's like, no, I'm gonna stay behind and got some stuff of my own to deal with. But Karen's like, you can try to put up that front as much as you, but I know you're a good guy. And he's like, you asked me for a favor and I did it. She's like, yeah, you did, And even Matt asked her later on, it's like, yeah, so I heard yours and Frank's heart. She's like, oh, really? Yeah. As you heard his heart? It's like, yeah. It's like, must have just been adrenaline. She's like, but when I met you again, did you hear my heart? He was like, yeah. Must have been the adrenaline. You're like, yeah, you're in a complicated spot because you are in a relationship right now, but your girlfriend doesn't believe you. You both are kind of already on the outs by last episode, even more so now. So what do you do when your ex comes back? But it's like, where do we stand after all of this? You've been away for like a year. We were both kind of drowning in our own pain, not realizing this was kind of underneath our noses the entire time. So also got to give it to your boy Frank. Went straight to those over the radio, heard where those task force were, and immediately went to them. And they were like, "Yo, it's Frank Castle," because they're fanboying out, and this is his club. And he proceeds to start murking everyone, beating people up. I mean, yeah. Once again, it don't matter when Frank sees you as kind of a piece of shit. Like, doesn't matter. It's just, oh, one of the people was a woman. He like decked her right in the face, dude. Just like, Jesus. Like, yeah, if you suck and you're a terrible person, man, woman, child, doesn't matter, I guess, for Frank. But yeah, like, they end up knocking him down and tying him up or handcuffing him. And they're like, yeah, Frank, we want you to join it with us. I mean, yes, you killed quite a bit of us, but at the end of the day, Frank, we respect you. You should do what you do with us. Like, we can support what you're doing. In fact, join us. That way you don't have to be on the run anymore, Frank. Like, you'll have the protection of Fisk and stuff like that. But for Frank, it's like, oh, you guys, oh God, you understand me. You know my pain. You know me, huh? You know, you've been through what I've been through. And he's like, here you guys are like playing dress up in a way. He does not, he's like, I don't respect you guys. I don't, you know, like, screw you. And he proceeds to beat on. He's like, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm still here. They're laying more and more punches. I was like, well, they're fanboys. So like, are they going to kill him? The easiest thing and most simple thing to do would be to kill him. But I'm curious, is it their like infatuation with Frank the reason why they want to keep him alive? Because I think maybe they think given enough time, maybe he'll see the light. Because I can't see Kingpin being like, yo, let him live. But it's like, it could be a thing of you can serve a greater purpose later on. Just like the Matt of it all, where it's like, oh, Matt's death served more than him as, you know, Daredevil. So maybe it's kind of like that with the vigilantes. We'll get to that later. But Matt and Karen do make their way to the Red Hook, and it's swarming with cops as task force people, and Matt's already wounded, so it's not like he's at 100%. He's on his own. You're not going to be able to get through all these people, and yeah, you might be able to get to Kingpin, but what, you're probably going to die in the process. And are you fine with that? It's like, the city is here. Like, what did you tell me? Like, I was like, yeah, what it's like to be in all that darkness. And Matt described it as like, no, it's not darkness, it's like 1,000 burning suns. And she's like, exactly, the city is here. You know, we got to find a different way to defeat Fisk, because this ain't the way to do it. You're just going to rush towards your death unless that's what you want. And because Matt had described it as, well, no, he talks about it later, about how he's always struggled with that darkness not to consume it. And he's like, for this past year, he's kind of lost who he was. And now, you know, it's Karen saying like because he says like, at first he was like, at first I thought God took my eyesight from me, and then I later thought like, oh, he gave me this gift and the mask. And it was kind of like, for him, he believed that the mask was his mission, but for him it was just like, no, I had to believe in the mask to kind of give myself purpose. Coming to terms with a lot of who he is and his own darkness that was always there, that he tried to deny it, but now it's kind of like Karen telling you like, accept all sides of it, the light, the darkness, all of those things make you who you are. You know, you can't, like, no longer denying any parts of you, accepting all parts of you and finding some equilibrium with all of that, which is interesting considering Fisk kind of, and as I brought that up last episode about Matt spiraling out, not being able to contend with who he was, versus Kingpin, who seems to be solidifying with who he is. So we have Kingpin bringing in Gallows in front of a whole bunch of cops. I thought the point was going to be like, have all those cops beat Gallows up, but it's just like, oh, this guy, he's waiting behind while you guys put your lives on while you're on the front lines. But it's like, hey, Gallows isn't the problem. He's a cog in a machine, right? The machine itself is the issue. But Gallows is like, right, you are always the Kingpin, weren't you? And in that moment, kills Gallows, make it brutally. I didn't know how he was. I thought it was just going to be a straight up, no, I'm going to squish your head, because it's like his ears started bleeding and stuff, his face getting red and redder, and then he proceeds to just like squish it to the point like you break his jaw and it's hanging. I was like, ugh. Like, even the door slamming decapitation from season 1, that was in shadow. Like, the fact is, like, that looked like, that was like, it's kind of like that thing from season 4 of The Boys, where it just, what was it, was it Web Weaver, the whole Homelander Web Weaver thing? Like, they built that they built that for that sequence. It feels like that. Like, that looked practical, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. That looked pretty practical. So I was like, man, building that and designing that, it's like, Jesus Christ, I never thought you'd get something like that in the MCU. That's kind of insane. And just the calmness afterwards as he wipes away the blood on his hands, and Sue just being like, okay, that's the end of that. Let's kind of keep it moving. So, and just kind of says like, and throws Gallows under the bus later on, being like, yeah, Gallows ran and turned his back on your city when it needed help. I mean, I didn't even touch on like the rampant, like, well, obviously it's like people take advantage of any situation. Shitty people use this as an opportunity to like wreak havoc. I mean, the city's already divided too because of the task force, and hell, they shot. It's like, oh man, this guy's a kid, and it's like, well, no, it was a vigilante, like pulls the hat, the beanie down over his face to be like a mask. I was like, wow, because I was like, I figured you're gonna plant something on him. It's like the same thing as like, oh yeah, like obviously he had a gun on him and drop a gun. Like it's like, no, you put the mask on him to be like, no, he was a vigilante. It's like, yeah, that. Oof. And obviously, like I said, just like it all went down in like one night. The city was on fire, and then like the calm hits, and it's like, we're safe. It's all great. I would assume that is, in fact, the next day. It's like, oh, the city survived. We got the power back on, and stuff. It's like yada yada yada. And Fisk is spinning that to the city about like, right, everyone watching, saying like it's full anti-vigilante. I'm here with you. Like at the end of the day, I want you to know I love this city. So things are ramping up, and obviously he's got his city on martial law and got the city looking like The Last of Us, with how like locked and loaded these streets are. At the same time, Matt is rallying an army of his own because he needs to gather people. You know, he's in the bar with Josie, Angie, Cherry, obviously Karen, and some other good cops, but that ain't nothing. I know the criticism is going to be like, yeah, this would be an opportunity to put in some heroes, specifically some defenders. But once again, we don't know where everyone stands on that. I don't know how Kristen Ritter, like I think she talked about like wanting to return, but it's also the thing of have they been approached by it? Like, is that something they're willing to pull the trigger on? Like like any of the defender stuff, like we brought in Punisher, but like, are we bringing in Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or Iron Fist, or like, how much of that stuff is canon? How much are you going to rework the canon to keep things as they were? Because I mean, Danny does have the Iron Fist by the end of season 2. Luke was in a very specific position, but once again, these are all been a couple years ago. So how much has changed in that time frame? So there's a lot to question how they would approach that. So maybe not wanting to like pull the trigger on that yet might be why their reluctancy. Like I said, because I know just like Kristen Ritter is open for it. I know Finn Jones has been open for it. Mike Coulter's kind of, I think he's changed his mind a little bit. Like he's a little more open now than maybe he would have been over the past couple years. But either way, it's like I don't like I said, I don't know if they want to confirm that, because this would be the opportunity. Like, hey, like stack it up with some vigilantes, but you got regular people. But I think that's also the point, rallying the entire city behind a vigilante. It's interesting too because obviously Matt was like behind the closed door. And so I'm wondering at first, because I was almost wondering, like, was Matt going to reveal his identity to all of the New York or maybe the world? Or is it a situation of like, because he comes out, but he's got the mask back on. He didn't come out as just Matt Murdock. He came out as Daredevil. So he took the mask off while he was talking to Karen, but I think like no one out there knows. They're all kind of like, oh, well, obviously Cherry's like, oh shit, so you're full Daredevil now. It makes you almost wonder, like going forward, is Matt going to be Daredevil 24/7, or will he still balance out with the Matt Murdock of it all, considering like the dire situation you're in? But it's like, yeah, gathering the entire city, and we cut back to different people. We see Angela out in the streets looking at the people. Obviously, these are the same people who murdered your uncle. Once again, the pathway to being White Tiger is there. Once again, the precedent is there. The question then becomes, will they pull the trigger on that in this series or not? We see Kirsten reading, I think she got the document. I think they sent it to her to kind of keep an eye on, and kind of see if they can handle anything on that. Like, I think the legal front, they can do something about that. We have Heather getting a job from Fisk. Now the question then becomes, now is she just operating from the inside, kind of pseudo like a BB, or is she kind of like been, Fisk and kind of believes the bullshit of it all? It's like her trauma and her experience with Muse being manipulated, just like Matt said, and I don't know. Her refusal to see him for what he is. It's kind of ironic, being a therapist. You think she probably would be able to see behind all that for him for what he is, but maybe her view on everything is kind of skewed after her experience. Maybe her mindset would be changed and a little different if she knew that Matt was Daredevil, but who knows? Obviously, BB and her reporting and where she stands in all this, because once again, she still has her in with Daniel, but how she utilizes that going forward, like she's going to be fighting a war kind of on her own front, but it's going to benefit kind of this resistance that Matt is building slowly but surely. So yeah, but basically, it's just the whole point of just getting New York to kind of fight for itself, because even Daredevil, well, no, was it not Daredevil? Sorry, Kingpin had made the point of like, was it him or Matt? Like someone had made the point that like New York doesn't stay down; it always kind of gets back. I think it might have been Gallows that said that, so this is kind of representative of that. Also, I talked about it a little bit, but I forgot to circle back to it. Was the whole Fisk has got a whole bunch of people in cages. We see Jack Duquesne. The swordsman. We see, oh God, Frank. And that's the question, like, why not just kill them? Like I said, not less they're a piece to a puzzle of like, well, you can use them and trot them out if you need to kind of help you and sell your, anti-vigilantism type of situation. And then him and Vanessa celebrating him in white, her in red. Celebrating everything's come up golden. They've come out on top when more often than not, whether it's the end of season 1, whether it's the end of season 3, always ended up on the back foot. Now it's like, oh, like you're reigning supreme. And then we have like the post-credit scene with Frank being like, yo, oh, you're from Jersey? Yeah. Anthony, yeah, shake my hand. Breaks his hand and then proceeds to try and bust his way out. So what that looks like, what that all entails is going to be interesting to see. Obviously, it says at the end, Daredevil will return for season 2. Obviously, this is like amongst the live action stuff. This is only the second thing that's gotten a second season. Debatable about the whole WandaVision to Agatha All Alone, but true blue second season being Loki and this. Obviously, I believe they're still filming. I would assume they're still filming season 2, but they've been filming it for at least a little while. Because I think it started filming around the time the show started premiering. But also, let's not forget, there is also, well, it should still be happening. It's the Punisher. Oh God, what are they called? The special presentations. There's going to be a Punisher special presentation that's going to come out before season 2 of Daredevil. So I guess it's going to act like Daredevil Born Again, like season 1.5 in a way. And I guess it's going to immediately pick up from Frank making this escape and kind of act as like a prelude to season 2 of Born Again. So I'm interested to see what happens, where that goes, what that whole situation entails. Yeah, but I'm also just very, very excited for season 2. There's also a thing that's kind of been floating around. A massive theory a lot of people had is that Foggy isn't dead, that he's not still alive, that he might be in witness protection, because the number on, and this was like discovered weeks and weeks ago, but I've never talked about it, was the whole thing of their building that came out of, apparently that number correlates to a comic of the same story beat of Foggy faking his death and going into witness protection. I don't think I've talked about that. I've heard plenty of people talk about it, but I don't remember if I talked about it in this recording. So the reigning theory was like Foggy might still be alive. The fact is they didn't reveal it in this makes you go, huh. So are they still keeping that? Are they being like, no, Foggy is dead? Or are we going to wait till season 2 to kind of like unravel that and kind of be like, nah, he's actually still alive? Because at first I was wondering, I'm like, could Karen know? But like, no, it seems like she was just as much like, she's just finding out about all of this too, so it has to be a situation of, I don't know, it still could be plausible they could still pull the Foggy card of he was alive. Could he have been in witness protection, or was he just laying low in general? I don't know. We'll have to wait to see if they end up, like I said, they end up kind of not necessarily retconning it, but making it so like, no, this is what was going on, or whether like, no, he's straight up dead. Oh yeah, also forgot, Bullseye's still on the loose, so that's going to be interesting considering he's definitely going to be doing his own thing. He's definitely going, well, he's at the top of Fisk's list, but obviously he wants Fisk, he wants Vanessa. Also perfectly fine with killing Matt too, so it's like, Daredevil. So it's like, yeah, I'm sure like all that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with so many threads and see where things going to go. I should also comment on it. Obviously, if you don't know the behind the scenes, plenty of people talk about it, but I've never talked about it, is that this show got retooled. So a good chunk of this show is still what was originally filmed, but then there's extra stuff that was filmed, like all of episode one's bits and pieces were filmed for like episodes like 2 to 6 and 7, and like from episode 2 all the way to 6, but maybe I think 7's also counted amongst that as well. And there's new stuff added and filmed, stuff is re-edited and stuff like that. So the show has felt very unbalanced for a lot of people. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, but that's been the main criticism of just the show stuck between being what the new showrunners wanted it to be versus what the show was originally going to be, very episodical, case of the week type of thing. So I've still thoroughly enjoyed the season. Obviously, it's going to be interesting because that the new team have full creative control over season 2. So it's going to be more like episodes 8 and 9 feeling vibe going forward into the next season. So we'll see how people feel about that. Kind of more of a singular vision rather than this Frankenstein vision of what this show ended up being. But to me, like I said, because I've enjoyed like even the quote unquote Frankenstein bit, props to both teams, whether it's the original team who worked on a show, who had a different vision for the show versus the team that worked on the show. Now, I want to give props to everyone because I feel like the current team is the one who's probably going to get the most prop, but obviously they're going to get most of the flack for the show being what it is as well. So it's just there's always going to be an asterisk complication to season 1 of this show. Like I said, irregardless of I'm thoroughly enjoying it, there's other people too, but it's still just kind of like yes, I hear people's criticism, I understand them. They were just not issues for me, but they're still valid criticisms nonetheless. But yeah, so yeah, just kind of wanted to remark on that too, because obviously it's like, well, that's kind of not going to be as much of an issue in season 2, but we're going to see like how season 2 ends up getting structured out. Like I said, like how Matt plays things going forward, how Fisk plays with things going forward, especially if like Daredevil's leading a resistance and who he is, like like what cards are you going to play? But yeah, I've run my mouth off for long enough. That's really all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.